That was brilliant. Yeah, it's really useful to actually see how that evaluation is going to happen. Particularly from a point of view that it's brilliant that we're going to be in a position that we have that data available, I think, at the end of all of this. So that's really, really good stuff. There's been some really, really fantastic comments that have been made as Lisa and Lee were talking in the chat box, very much around how over the years we've actually disempowered patients. And it's great that innovations such as this are really beginning to re-empower patients. And I think that's key. Sarah, I know you've got your hand up, so I'll come to you.
Yeah, Lee, I mean, I think much needed piece of work. We need to be guided by what people are telling us. I guess my question is, there are some hard to reach groups to feed into this. So if we think about people who are on end of life pathways and deceased, capturing their experiences, very often you might be having to do it through bereaved relatives or their carers. And then I guess in the frailty group as well. So, a lot of people with frailty will have cognitive impairment. That doesn't mean, though, that they don't have thoughts, feelings and wishes. And in my experience, even people that are cognitively impaired very often do express what they want and what they don't want, but they're just not heard. There's a lot of evidence from Age UK that actually shows how much we disregard people's autonomy just because they're old. And then in the older population, they presume that they don't have a voice, so they don't come forward. So very often we're having to bring that out. We're having to actively bring that out as professionals because they presume I'm old, I'm vulnerable. Somebody else is going to take over, a professional, or my well-meaning daughter is going to take over. And so their loss of autonomy becomes an issue. So it's just something to think about in terms of how we gather those perspectives. It's difficult, I know, but really helpful to sort of feed in.
Absolutely, and with the information leaflet that's going out to the patients that are participating, we're making it clear that these interviews can take place ideally with that person, but they can be supported by others. And I think there is a real pertinence to bringing in family members and carers as well, because they also have this lived experience of the everyday reality of these situations. So can act as, good interested partners. But you're absolutely right. We first and foremost, it is the participants that we are seeking to empower from this process.
Liz, I think you've got your hand up.
Yeah, so it's really just a statement following on from what Sarah was saying. It's so key, isn't it, that conversations happen so much earlier. And going back to Sarah's slide about identification of frailty, but also people with long-term conditions. And we always say, don't we, people often will make a will perhaps at a important moment of their life, and often that's perhaps they're getting married or they're living with somebody or they have children. But actually, and then they park it, they don't have to look at it. But we need to really be encouraging people to think about the future. And we shy away from those conversations. We hope that somebody else will have them. But I actually think in primary care, we are the best placed people to start facilitating those conversations, because we can offer continuity of care. We can develop those relationships with patients and their family and their carers. So just a comment, really.
Yeah, I think that's key, and I think as well as that, well, obviously we've had, and again we've come to it numerous times, haven't we? But one of the key themes that I think has emerged from the last sort of 2 hour 40 or 2 hour 50 minutes has been the whole kind of concept of empowering patients to be able to make those decisions, personalizing any aspect of their care is key as well in all of that. Are there any questions at all from anybody, from anything this morning at all? Liz, is that an old hat? Yeah, okay. Trish, hello.
Oh no, I was just kind of giggling to myself that he'd said to Liz that was an old hand. Sorry.
That'd be kind, Trish. Be kind.
I'm thinking that's you off our Christmas list.
Yeah, that's
I think from this morning's session, it just makes you makes me more motivated to to get on with this, get this underway, and hopefully empower our patients. I think is what I'm hearing from speakers today about giving patient empowerment back to patients, and to help us look after themselves. So really excited to get on board once again. Thank you.
No, that's great. And Trish, obviously, it's somebody that I know, quite well. I'm also aware that there are other healthcare professionals that are on today. So I think we've got some pharmacists that are present as well. And it's just a question to everybody, really. How do you feel that the cancer care review, or this cancer care review, is going to benefit patients? How do we feel that it's going to benefit patients?
I feel it will give them a platform to speak up, to let their voice be heard, and for us to then plan their care more individualized, and so we can learn from them how to help patients in the future, and also how we can promote better screening and better uptake, because I'm sure I'm imagining that once we get onto the virtual groups, we'll hear a lot about their journeys and how the diagnosis process, and maybe they wish they'd come sooner, and how we can reach out to them more proactively, and our other clients. And I would like to see our health and wellbeing coaches involved in the virtual group as well, because I think that it would be a fantastic thing to have them on board for goal setting and motivation, and again on an individualized way. And I think most PCNs now have health and wellbeing coaches involved in their surgeries.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, it is about putting the ball back in the patient's court, which I think is quite key. And Sarah, you make a really good point about people actually ending up keeping quiet or hiding their views because they presume that as a healthcare professional you're going to have the answers, you're going to know what to do. And again, it is just sort of flipping the script on that, isn't it, really? I think that's quite key. Any other thoughts or comments at all?
Sorry, my last point, the slide that I can't remember now who posted it, but the impact of the diagnosis, it was a very, very busy brainstorm slide, and that's my comment was, wow, was like, because you don't actually realize how it impacts everyone and in so many different ways. So I think me personally, it just made me more aware of some of the challenges that they are facing or may be facing.
Yeah, no, that's really, really good stuff. So I think we're good to wrap up. Is there any other questions at all? Speak now or forever. Liz?
So I was just going to say, thank you all for your involvement, your engagement, not only the presenters, but all of you listening, because, I think we're quite passionate about, this pilot. I think also, and Trisha's raised a few questions about how do I access this, and I think it does show that we perhaps don't get the communications out to what is on offer in primary care. We're doing some work now on community breast pain clinics. We're looking for nurses who might be interested in going on an accredited course for breast pain, for delivering breast pain community clinics, because we know that often these women do not need to go into the trusts. So there's lots of different things that are happening, and it may be, and I'm listening to, I'm hoping Tom's listening to this, Tom Mann, that we could make sure that we individually send you some of these emails when new initiatives are coming out, because I am aware you're bombarded with so many emails, they may not always get to you. So I think if you're interested to be part of that, I'm sure we can facilitate that. Is that okay, Tom?
Certainly could be an option, definitely.
Thanks.
Great. I think that's Sarah.
Yeah, no, and just one final thing. I think we probably had more listeners on the call from the community world and primary care world, which is great. But it's that real empowerment for us in the community system as well to sort of really raise our heads above the parapet and help, secondary care. So there's a mindset change in secondary care as well, where there's no hierarchy here. We're all the same. We're all working towards the same patients. And sometimes inadvertently there is a little bit of that, oh, the specialist and whatever, we'll just, and I think so. It's about redressing that balance, because actually, if we're talking about personalisation and people, actually it's about who's aware of the issues affecting that person, and very often it won't be the people in secondary care, because they're not following that person's life and journey in the place where they live. So I think we've had Emma here representing the CNS and all the work that's going on in secondary care, but I think it's about that join up, isn't it? It's about recognizing and that sort of mutual respect and using that intelligence wisely, and making the playing field, we're all working together and we're all equal in that effort.
Yeah, and we've got a patient at the centre of all of that, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, the patient's in charge, to be honest.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing.
I think if there's one thing that's come up from this morning, it should be that. It really should be that. Patient empowerment is key. I think, Tom, you did post a feedback form earlier in the chat box, didn't you? I just wonder if would you be all right just to repost that so it's the last thing that's on there? So be really grateful if you could fill that out for a feedback. Just hit us up, and this could be something that we're recording this session, so it could be something that we want to rerun. It could be something that we just want to use the recording of, but yeah, no, thank you very much, everybody, for your active engagement. It's great to see so many lovely faces and names, and thank you to the speakers and Liz and Lisa and Lee and Sarah and Tom and everybody, and Emma as well, for putting together the day. So no, really good stuff. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.